get down.
Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl. Don't be afraid, won't let you fall, girl.
What's up, Olympic lifters? I figured I would go through some empty bar training and some PVC pipe training that you can do at home, just to make sure that we're staying on top of technique, on top of positioning, things that we can do basically in a space of 6 feet by 8 feet, enough room to kind of get yourself into a snatch position and also into our jerk positioning. So we started with our warm-up. Your body should feel nice and limber now. We should be moving. I do want you to put your lifting shoes on today. If you have a solid surface to stand on, that's going to be most ideal rather than standing on grass or on carpet. A solid surface is going to kind of reenact just like you would stand on a platform. We are going to start with snatch work today. We have 3 different exercises. We're doing wall-facing muscle snatches, pressing snatch balances, and slow snatches, really working on positioning and also the motor pattern of each of the movements. Because we will not be using weight, I really want us focused on each and every single step of the snatch. We'll then move into the clean. We have 2 different exercises for the clean. We have a high hang, feet up clean. Then we have clean grip SOTS press, just working on mobility in the bottom of a squat. And then our jerk positioning things, we have a complex of movements, doing that 8 times through just one complex, but we will be doing 3 different exercises in the jerk. First off, if we have a broomstick laying around, a PVC pipe, some sort of object that is unweighted, we're going to be using that for our first exercise, which is the wall facing muscle snatch. Obviously, I don't want to stay with my back facing you this entire video, but I will show you a couple reps facing the wall, and then I'll turn around and kind of show you exactly what we're trying to mimic. This movement is going to start from the high hang position or the power position. So basically all I'm looking for is to keep the chest up, keep our feet balanced, but a little bit of our weight in the front part of our foot, not so much the back part. So we're looking on keeping the balance right where the toes meet the foot. That's going to keep you in a solid positioning and an explosive positioning. As we drift back into our heels, we get more into this set back position, which almost always results in a jumping back motion of the snatch. So always want to make sure that that weight stays balanced over the center of your foot, the base of support. Slight knee bend. As I bend my knees, the knees should be kind of facing outwards to the side. So I'm basically just sitting my body straight down as if I was sitting on a bar stool, rather than allowing my knees to drift forward. So I'm making sure that knees are kind of drifting out, chest is staying up, and my shoulders are staying slightly over the bar rather than a leaning back position. So I'm still over the bar, barbell staying right up tight in the hips, keeping my chest up and turning my elbows out. So this is our setup of this position. The reason that I turn the elbow out is as I pull, I need that bar to stay as tight to my body and as tight to my torso as I possibly can. If the elbow drifts back or is relaxed, your pull is automatically going to start coming up and back away from your body, which results in the bar moving away from your body as well. So as I'm up against that wall, I'm basically standing a good 3-4 inches away from the wall. Just make sure you don't have anything like I do along this wall that you're going to smack and knock off the wall. Any pictures, take those off of the wall. Just make sure you have a good, clear guidance for something to move up and down along the wall. So I'm standing about 3 inches away. My chest is up. I'm going to extend through my hips, through my knees, through my ankles. The bar follows up with me as I shrug my shoulders. Elbows follow up. As I get to this top peak position, I'm going to put my heels down on the ground, turn over nice and tight, and then finish with a press through. So I'll show that to you as if I had my wall out in front of me. Knees out, chest is up, bar staying nice and tight in the hips. I'm practicing my hook grip, always holding the hook grip as well, even though it is a broomstick or a PVC pipe. I'm extending through the hips, knees follow, ankles follow, shrugging with the shoulders, followed by a pull with the elbows, moving my heels down as I support through that transition, pressing up and pulling through. Whole goal here is to make sure that that bar constantly is moving in an upward trajectory. There's no point of time where that bar stops and then starts pressing up. So ensuring that everything is going up, staying nice and tight to the body, that turnover stays very close to the body, and I finish up and overhead in a normal overhead locked out position. Take these nice and slow. This is not meant to be done fast. This is meant to make sure that you can feel that entire motion of a muscle snatch and make sure that the body is moving in a good sequential pattern. So make sure that when you're following through, you're not standing up on the toes, you're pushing through the heels, you're finishing nice and locked out. There's no rebend in the knee in the muscle snatch. You're gonna give me 5 sets of 10 of those. Take them very slow, take them nice and steady. After you do 10, kind of shake it out. Step away from the wall, allow your body to kind of readjust itself and recalibrate where you're standing. Walk back to the wall. Again, another set of 10. So the whole goal behind this is to get the body and bar moving in the proper sequence. So just make sure that you're taking your time with this because it is going to prep you for these pressing snatch balances that are next. Go ahead and pause the video, go over to your wall, finish your 5 sets of 10. Now that we're done with the wall-facing muscle snatches, we're going to move into a pressing snatch balance. So you can do this with a bar, you can do this with a PVC pipe. I'm actually going to move to a barbell myself. Give me a little bit more weight. Putting myself into my snatch position. My feet are going to stay in my overhead squat position. So this is snatch position. This is my squat position. Just make sure that you can comfortably squat. You can kind of test it in a back squat if you want. Otherwise, if you know your overhead squat position, go ahead and just set your feet there. The pressing snatch balance, whole goal behind this is to keep constant tension on the bar. I'm not adding a dip or drive. This is not a normal snatch balance, it's a pressing snatch balance. So barbell's gonna stay in the same place, basically putting my elbows down facing the ground, giving good tension up against the barbell, and my goal is to keep this bar in this same position as I slowly lower myself down. I'm gonna push against the bar, keep it in the same position. As I lower myself down, when I get to the bottom of my squat, my arms are in a locked out position now. I stand back up, bring the bar back down. So again, chest up, elbows down, good strong positioning against the bar. Press up, stay active, pushing myself down underneath the bar, locking out into that overhead, and then standing back up. We have 5 sets of 5 of those. What I've found, the main reason behind this goal, or behind this drill, is a lot of people have a hard time getting underneath the bar. We get to this position where we pull up, and then right here, as people start going underneath the bar, they're very uncomfortable in that position. So what this does is it really reinforces the fact that you are not pulling the bar as high as you can. You're pulling the bar to a position that is as high as you can get it and then you're actually pulling yourself underneath the bar. So this really mimics the action of pushing up against the bar and pushing yourself underneath. As soon as you get into that bottom position in the overhead, you are actively pressing up against the bar and you're actively staying tight in the bottom of your squat. It is not a throw the bar up, dive underneath and hope that you catch it. So just make sure that you guys are paying attention to that as we go through this drill. You're staying active against the bar. You're pushing yourself underneath. As I come down, my arms are slowly reaching a locked out position. I come to a full locked out, full bottom position, and stand that thing up just like I would in a normal snatch. Take your time with this. So super good drill to work on and to get that timing of your snatch. 5 sets of 5. Take your time. Pause the video. Go ahead and do your reps. Third and final movement of our snatch section is a slow snatch. If you are unfamiliar with this, or if you've never done a slow snatch before, start with the PVC pipe. If you've done this before, go ahead and move yourself up to a barbell. This is a very tough movement. It's basically pulling in the bottom portion of our snatch, so snatch deadlift, up into a muscle snatch, and then into a pressing snatch balance. So what I'm looking for in this is good control over your body and good control over the bar. If you have good control over both of them, you're going to be more successful in the snatch. If you only have good control of your body and you have no idea where the barbell is, you're not going to be that successful in the snatch until you start to control the bar. So this movement is a super good movement to really start to understand where your body is in space in comparison with the bar. I'm going to demonstrate this first with a PVC pipe, and then I'll show you what it should look like with a bar. So taking this very slow, steady movement patterns, the slower you can go, the more control it shows that you have. So I hear a lot of times people are like, a PVC pipe is too light. I don't understand what this is. This weight's too light. I got to throw some weight on the bar to actually make it feel and look good. What we're aiming to do right now is to make sure that you move well without weight, so then when we add weight, you move even better. It's not the weight that determines how you're moving. So make sure that you take this slow and steady and show me that you have good control over your movements. In my snatch position, I'm going to come down into the bottom position. Once I'm in this position, this is basically my positioning right off the floor. What I'm looking for is solid positioning in the feet. Your weight should be drifted forward, basically putting yourself in that same positioning we talked about in the muscle snatch. Balance should be stacked directly over the middle of your foot. So a little bit more forward in that foot rather than back. You should not be able to wiggle your toes here. As that bar is at the middle of my shin, the next step is getting my shoulders over the bar. So this position is a very inactive bottom position. What I see a lot of times here is people will start here, their butt comes up, then they get tension out of the bar, and now they end up snatching fully and solely with their back. So instead of having the hips down, the shoulders back behind, what I'm looking for is just the shoulders to stay on top of the bar and the chest to stay upright. So there is a slight angle in my back. It should be around 45 degrees. Chest is up, knees are out. So in this bottom position, I'm starting to stand nice and steady. Bar gets to my knees. I start pulling that bar up against my thighs. Once I reach my hips, my shoulders should still be over the bar. I should still have a little bend in the knee. Starting my extension at the hip. Coming up with the shoulders, bar should stay straight up against my belly button. I start to pull on the bar. As soon as it gets to the bottom of my sternum, I start that turnover. I start that turnover position and my body starts to move underneath the bar, turning over, getting active against that bar, starting to press it into my overhead position and finish into the bottom of my squat and standing back up. Make sure that you have good positioning the entire time. So as I stand up, I'm coming through, bar stays tight to the body, coming up into my extension, turning over, pushing myself down. I get to that locked out position. don't just lose tension right here. Okay, so once you catch it, push yourself down into the bottom of your active squat and then stand yourself back up. So this is a one step at a time. If you have a mirror that you can do this in front of, it really helps to be able to see your body and your bar moving at the same time, keeping good activity against the bar. As I'm setting my PVC pipe down, when you do this with the barbell, what you're looking for is basically the same thing, showing good positioning, showing good tension, making sure that you're staying active. If I don't stay active with the weight of the barbell, I'm not going to be able to do this movement. So, picking my bar up, getting myself into my bottom position, feet should be a little bit wider just because I do have to go into my squat. Standing up, keeping the bar close, coming up into extension, pulling over, keeping good tension on the bar, coming down into that squat, and standing back up. I'm going to do 2 more just so you guys can watch and see. You'll see the only fast parts of those movements are in the turnover and in the standing of my squat. So make sure you guys are taking your time with every little step. Keep it as strict and as true as you possibly can. And give me 5 sets. Let's do 6 sets. 6 sets of 3 reps. Go ahead and pause the video and keep moving through your reps. Okay guys, for our clean work, we're gonna grab a couple objects. I'm fortunate enough that I have a couple plates here, but what I'm looking for is something that you can move your feet on top of. If you are using a PVC pipe or a broomstick, textbooks would be a good option, but just make sure that they're not slick enough that they're gonna slide away on the floor. You can even do just towels. I'm totally fine with having a soft landing position, as long as we are moving our feet from underneath our body to outside in our squat stance. So main things that I'm looking for in terms of the distance between these plates, feet should start directly underneath my hips. So my hip bones are here. I'm going to draw a line straight down my legs, and my feet should be immediately underneath. So if I have my hip bones here and my feet are outside, when I look straight down from my hip bones, I realize that my feet are outside that position. So I'm just making sure that feet are underneath my hips. This would be a comfortable position for me to jump from or to start sprinting from. So feet start here. My feet are going to be slightly turned out just because that's my personal preference. Some people do like their feet straight and parallel with one another, but it's totally up to you. Just because I do have that 45-degree turnout of my feet, I'm going to move a little bit forward in the positioning of where I'm getting my feet started. I'm going to do my first couple reps with a PVC pipe. What we're looking for is 6 sets of 3 reps in a high hang clean position. So high hang clean, my arms are relaxed in my clean position. You can see that this bar basically crosses the high part of my thigh. So when I bend my knees and keep my chest up, that bar really doesn't move anywhere. This is typically where that contact point is going to be if I were doing a full clean. Okay, so with bars basically right at your contact point, which means I have very little extension from my hip, and I have to rely mostly on myself pulling the bar to my shoulder and making good contact and catching the bar nice and strong in my rack position as my feet move. So this is all about being able to extend, pull the bar into your shoulder so it's landing in a good rack position. At the same time, your feet are landing and moving out. I see this very commonly with people who have come from CrossFit into weightlifting or are looking to clean their weightlifting up, is that you don't move your feet. So when people don't move their feet in the clean or in the snatch, basically what's happening is my feet are directly pushing force into the ground as I'm standing the bar up. So in this instance, I would be cleaning. My feet are pushing force into the ground. Once I hit that extension position and my hips extend, my knees extend, my ankles extend, I start to translate that force I'm pushing into the ground into the barbell. If my feet do not move, that force never fully translates into the bar. The bar is not going to be able to come up as high, and it's actually going to spend a little less time in that peak point of trajectory. So once I extend, it's going to go up and then back down. It's going to go up, back down. If my feet move, the bar is going to come up. It's going to hover slightly as my feet are moving and as the force is being taken off of the ground and translated into the barbell. And it's going to give me a little more time to get underneath the bar. So if the feet don't move, typically what I see when the weight gets heavy enough, we extend, and then it's basically a race between you and the barbell getting underneath it. Almost always when the weight gets heavy enough, the barbell wins that race. So what we have to do is start leaving the force from the floor and putting it into the barbell to give us a little bit of extra time to get underneath that bar. Okay, so this drill is really good at practicing that skill. I'm gonna go into my high hang position. So my chest stays up, elbows are out, bar's basically right at that point of contact. I'm gonna extend, pull the bar to my shoulder, and take this into a full squat. Again, it is a little bit hard to do with the empty PVC pipe, but this shows that you have good control. So one more rep, standing yourself back up. If I do it with the barbell, you'll see a little bit more discrepancy if there's not good timing. That bar is gonna slam down on my shoulders. So you wanna make sure that you're bringing the bar just up as high as you need to, not all the way up and having it slam back down to the rack position. So keeping the chest up, arms are relaxed. I'm gonna extend and pull to my shoulder as I move my feet and stand back up. Couple more reps here. You guys have 6 sets of 3 of those. Really do your best to make sure that there's as little gap between the bar and your shoulders as possible. Pause the tape, give me your reps. Okay guys, little mobility test here. We have a clean grip SOTS press. So this one, if you have a hard time at ankle mobility, a hard time with hip mobility, a hard time with upper back mobility, this movement is going to magnify any and all of those issues. So first set, we have 6 sets of 5. First one, start with a PVC pipe or a broomstick. So I'm gonna grab my PVC. What I want this movement to look like is a full squat, bar in your front rack, like a normal front rack position. Okay, I'm gonna come all the way down to the bottom of my squat, keeping good tension so I'm not just relaxed. Don't let the pelvis roll underneath you. Keep yourself upright. Bar stays up on the shoulders. I'm going to press and bring that bar to my normal overhead position. Back down, press, back down. On my last rep, I'm going to press it up, stand up, and bring it back down into my shoulders. These are the things that you're going to see if you have issues in mobility. We get down into the squat. My hips start to roll underneath me and my shins start to move back. So this is typically an ankle mobility issue where I'm sitting back like this and I'm not going to be able to press and get the bar back into a good position. So if I try to pull this bar back, it's going to tip me over in my squat. Major points that you're looking for if you do this in a mirror, and what you see is almost a vertical shin rather than an angled shin. What this shows me is that you will have a little bit of lag in ankle mobility. So a couple things that we can do to help this. One, this is what I see most people do, jamming themselves into dorsiflexion of the ankle. So yes, we do have to work on that. We do have to push that knee forward to start to open up some space in the front part of the ankle. But what we also have to do is actually tilt the ankle. So I can use a door frame, a towel, a book, propping my foot up onto something, bringing myself forward into dorsiflexion, and then pushing my knee over towards the direction of that foot. I'm going to angle it that way, and then I also would do the opposing angle, tilting my foot this way. So working on that tilting and the dorsiflexion is going to open up a little more space in your ankle so we can start to come down into a little bit deeper and more comfortable squat. Hip mobility issues, what we most likely will see in this is a very narrow stance of a squat, hips not being able to rotate properly. Once we're down here, we won't have enough activation from the rest of my body to be able to stay stacked. So even if my ankles are forward, my knees aren't able to drift out, and I'm gonna have a much harder time keeping my torso vertical. Things that will help with that is a little bit more work into our hips, some 90-90 positionings, getting your front shin at 90 degrees, that back thigh and back shin at 90 degrees, working on leaning forward, keeping the chest nice and tall. This will be external rotation of the hip, and then working on internal, which is usually the pain point, the hard part on people, turning towards that knee, either leaning yourself back or leaning yourself forward, and then bringing that back knee up and opening up a little bit more control and a little bit more range on that back side. So make sure you do that on both hips. Upper back mobility, I see this a lot on people just from texting, from driving, from sitting at a desk where the shoulders are rolled over and the squat might look perfect, but we can't get the chest up into a good position, so the press just ends up being out and in front. Things that you can do for that, instead of doing our SOTS press is sitting on a chair, sitting down like on a normal chair, and doing seated presses like this until we can open up some of the back a little bit more. Things that will help with that is laying down on the floor, hooking your hands around a bed or the couch, and just kind of pulling the head up, opening up some space into the upper back. So all of those mobility things will make the SOTS press a lot harder. Just make sure that if we are unable to do this, sit yourself down in a chair and give me seated presses instead of SOTS presses. You have 6 sets of 5. Make sure that you are staying tight in the bottom of that SOTS press. Go ahead and pause the tape and either do some mobility work right now or do your SOTS presses. Last movement, we are going to work on our jerk positioning. I'm going to get rid of these plates and just get them out of the way. I will be using a barbell for this. We have 8 sets of 1 time through this entire complex. You are doing 1 jerk, 3 split presses, and 3 what I call jerk balances. So we're going to start, I'm going to just use a bar for this. You can use a PVC pipe as well. Bar starts up in the shoulders. What I'm looking for in this pressing position, jerk position, this is our front rack for a clean, for a front squat. You should not be jerking from the same position. I know some people have mobility issues and they're not able to do this next position that I'm going to show. If that is you, we do have to start working on improving your rack positioning so we are able to get in a better pressing position. I'm going to let the bar roll down between my thumb and forefingers. I'm going to push my elbows in front of the bar, and I'm going to keep my chest up nice and strong. So you can see that my elbows are pointing down and to the outside. They're not up and to the inside, down and outside. And this is going to allow me to have a much more upright and straighter press. It's also going to allow for a little less movement. So if I press from this position, my elbows roll down and then the bar finally starts to move out. In the dip of my jerk, this positioning is also going to create a really strong rack positioning so the bar doesn't roll down. Okay, so we'll start in that position. Let me adjust my microphone so it doesn't fall out when I'm doing this movement. We're going to start with 1 jerk, keeping your weight back in your heels, dipping straight through the heel as if my back is up against the wall, driving and finishing in my split jerk. I'm going to bring the bar back down and just adjust my positioning if my jerk wasn't that great. So keeping a little bend in that back knee, maybe taking your stance out a little wider if you feel like you're walking on a tightrope. Adjust your positioning on your bar. I'm going to do 3 strict presses from my jerk positioning. Bring the bar back down, step my front foot back 1 step, and then give me almost like a push press, a little dip and drive, and stepping my front foot forward. In these jerk balances, try to time the bar locking out with your front foot hitting the ground. Recover as usual. Bring the bar back down, shake your arms out if you need to, take a break. We have 8 sets. You're doing 1 time through that complex 8 times. I'm going to show it from the side once as I catch my breath. Anytime you guys are going into your jerk, major things that I see wrong or see people struggle with is in that dip, there's forward movement of the torso. So what you're acting like is if somebody stabbed a pole through your head, through your torso, and into the ground, your body is moving straight up and down along that pole, even when your feet move. So when I dip and drive, feet move, the body does not move along with your feet. When we work on those jerk balances, this is what I see a lot of. Dip, drive, and move forward. Your torso should stay along a very straight line. So when I dip and drive, my torso stays in the same exact position. Stepping back, dip, drive. Just the front foot moves. Body is staying stacked along this position because if I lean forward, now that bar is out in front of my body and it's not stacked against a very strong and stable position of my back leg. If you are a push jerker in this, you're going to push jerk, bring the bar back down into your push jerk position, 3 strict presses from your push jerk position, bring the bar back down and give me 3 jerks with no feet. 1, 2, 3. Feet are not moving, just working on the timing of your movement under the bar and locking out into an overhead position. Give me 8 sets of that complex. Take a break in between. Give yourself 30 seconds to a minute and do all of your sets before you come back to the video. Good work today, guys. That's all I got for our bar work and our technique work. What I want you doing after you are done with everything, kick your shoes off, take about 10 to 15 minutes to stretch, mobilize your hips, mobilize your upper body and your shoulders. Just make sure that we're keeping full range of motion of the shoulders and of the hips because we are sitting around a lot more right now. So make sure you take some time to do that and then give me 100 reps of an ab of your choice. Any ab exercise, 100 reps. Give it to me, finish up for the day, and that's all we got. Good work.